Hi guys, welcome to another unscripted video by Gassan. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel. We have a lot of videos for our group. So today I'm going to describe our new dash. It's got a lot of features, and you guys will absolutely love it. It is going to make our life a lot easier going forward. So let's just jump into it. So this is our current dash, and you can see that it says on the top it says dash, and then there's a new tab that calls proc view or PV or process view. So when I click on there, you'll see that it looks a lot different and it has a lot more information. So we've added a whole bunch more information onto the station to allow us to view more information that makes our life a lot easier. So I'll go through all of this new information and how it affects you and how we can use it. I'll start off with looking at the revision, the version section. So this kind of tells you what version of software we have installed on the station. So we're now 1.44. That's, the 1.04 is kind of the latest. This is 1.03, which is not the latest. And then we have a lot of 1.3s. And now, 1.4s, which is then 1.45. So eventually by Monday, May 14th, they should all be at 1.045 or 1.044, which will tell you you're looking at the latest revision of software. So the way that MSI works, which is, this dash that we have, the true dash, we have a software on the web server, which is what you're looking at, and this communicates to a remote software in the station. And then the software that's in the remote station, it pulls off the information from the APCI equipment, sends it to the cloud, and then displayed here. So let's jump right in. We'll start off with the old dash. We see that we have our green buttons, we have our pressures, we have our dispenser with limited information, and we have our vehicle, and then we have some information here that we sometimes use, sometimes don't use. Here's our compressor, our watchdogs between the station. So server to station means that the cloud is talking, when this changes, is talking to the station. So the remote computer is talking to the cloud. This PLC to server means that the local APCI computer is talking to the remote computer. So when you see a PLC server watchdog, that means for some reason something is wrong with the APCI equipment. So let's go ahead and look at the dash. At the process dash. Okay, we still have the same buttons. This remote server mode enable, this just allows us to be able to see information in the raw on the remote computer. You should not really be looking at this very much. These are the green buttons that we use. The MC method should always be on. Of course, we have the secondary confirmation, which can be activated automatically by nozzle IRO. This NZPG auto, when we have our new system that does the nozzle purge, this will be activated to do automatic purging. Okay, so I'm looking at a station now. Let's take a look at Costa Mesa. A customer is filling, and let's take a look at the dispenser section. Here you can see some buttons that were not available to us before. LVR70, that tells us that the lever is actually pulled up, the push button is pressed, we can see the temperature of the hose, and we can see the pressure of the hose. We can see also if AOV 123 is being called to be open, and AOV 123A whether it's called to be open. Some of these are on a 4-second selection. So just please remember that there's a 4-second delay. Here we see the ramp. Ramp means SV120 is open, and then what the system is calling for. So you know how you manually sometimes put in the ramp rate for AOV, the pressure control valve 120? Well, this is what the PLC is asking it to do. So there is a lag, so for the most part it'll be always under the hose pressure, but it's supposed to be actually leading the hose pressure. Okay, so hose pressure is pretty accurate, but the PT124, that one is on a 4 to 5 second timer. It's just the way it is, just because of how we did it. It's slightly slower and lower. Down here we see the block temperatures, and what's really cool about this is we can see all the 3 blocks. And what you notice here is I can see that block 1 is at minus 37, minus 39, and minus 42. As we start to get into some issues, well, you know what? I can change this to minus 25. And I can just go back to dash and process and see if it accepted it. Yes, it did. And guess what? Now I've changed the set point. So no longer do we have to call Tyler, myself, Mike, or Andrew, or maybe some of the new guys, some of the other guys like Edgar know how to change it. Now we can change it directly from here. So yesterday I found a problem with Lake Forest, and I changed the set point so that our chill does not struggle too much. So I'm going to change it back, and then go here, come back, and see if it took it. Yes, it did. And you see this green light? This tells you which valve is actually opened. Okay, great. So on the H35, you can see the same things that we saw on the H70. In the vehicle, not much has changed. Down here we have a power, so we can sense all the power that the station is taking. And once this is up and running, the one thing that we'll be able to see is the actual amperage that's being drawn. And based on the amperage, that can kind of help us to verify that the chiller is running, compressor is running, or whatnot. And we will get to that, once we get more information. So back to the chiller. So now I'm looking at this section, and in here it tells me about the chiller. So I can see that the suction pressure is about -4. The green means the chiller is being asked to run. So in the case where maybe this is green, but our suction pressure is really, really high, so one of two things is happening. Maybe our TXVs are bad, or maybe the chiller is coming on and off and it's not really running that well. So this will help us diagnose the system. Next, we can take a look at the cooling water pump is running, the fan is running, the flow switch for the cooling water pump, that's also on. We can see the cooling water temperature. So all these will help us diagnose. And actually, if I look at Costa Mesa, it looks like we have a transfer over at Costa Mesa. Okay, so let's talk about this section. So what we see here is this is basically the tube trailer extension panel. So we see when the driver shows up to site, and this is when he starts the transfer button. When he flips it on, then the transferring starts, and then you'll see, these valves switch, these valves switch. This is the pressure transmitter or the gauge that's on, the pressure transmitter that's in the stanchion, what it's reading. So basically when the XFER is on and some of these valves are on or switching, you know that there's a trailer on site. You can always verify that with the camera on site. This is PT101A, so when we're transferring, we can see the pressure drop between PT119, which is in the stanchion, and then what's coming into the our ground storage. So basically the ground storage, the way that it works is this value, when this valve is open, will equal to that, and then the computer will say, well, the pressure then must be this. So for example, if this valve is open and this pressure is 200, then that means that this is 200. And it cycles through, so whenever you see step 0 pressure checking, these will open, and as these open, it will be looking at this pressure, which means that this pressure is that. Okay, clear as mud? Awesome. Then from here, it goes through AOV 201 and the pressure reducer going into the suction of the compressor. From there, it goes into the PSL, into the compressor. This is the inner stage pressure. We still have the blow-by that we had before. These are all the things that we had before. Then we have the discharge pressure of the compressor and the temperature of the discharge, which this temperature we've had before. So just remember, some of these are on a 4-second timer. Another thing that we have that we didn't have before is AOV 100. So these we did not have in the past, right? So now we know what valve is filling, right? Filling the storage. So in the past we had to guess the compressor is running, well, which valve? So let's see if we can find one. So let's take a look at La Cañada. Somebody's filling, compressor is running, and you can see that it's filling this tube. Okay, so the compressor is filling this tube. Right now, the system is filling the car from AOV 101A, which is this valve right here. So gas is coming from this, or was, into here, and then into the vehicle. Now it's switched, it's flowing from here, and then into the vehicle. So this is good for information. It's excellent, but there's one piece that is absolutely essential. So we've reached the 10-minute mark. This is the mark that I told you guys to watch out for. Let's take a look at why I am really drooling over this. So I'm going to go into Long Beach, and I would, no, maybe not Long Beach. Let's go into South Pasadena. Nope. San Francisco. Compressor running. I want to stop the compressor. I'm going to press this. This is the same as K2. Ask me for confirm. It's going to turn red and then turn green in about 4 or 5 seconds. And guess what? The system just went into standby. Now I have this bit on. I want to turn it off, just like we do in Nightcrawler. But now it's done a lot faster. So if I want to reset the S700, I can press on the S3 button, right? Which is, so this is the K1, K2, K3 in the compressor skid, or the compressor PLC. So I no longer have to log in and do that. I can just go into these. And then I can go into S1 to give it a restart. I gotta wait for it. Turns green. And then I press it again. And the red means it's transitioning. It's got a few second delay. And there we go. Same thing with D1 and D4. This is the K1 and K4 on the dispenser. We can do it here right away. And now I'm going to simulate an alarm. So give me a second. So we simulate an alarm. So we have a problem with the S700 that's causing the dispenser status. So let me reset the S700. I press S3. And that turned green, right? So that's our new Nightcrawler. So you can see what used to take us a few minutes, and we're jumping on phone, now takes just a few seconds. And here I go with the S1. Turns green, which means I just turned on the K1. And then I turn it off. So sometimes you gotta watch out. You gotta just wait for it. Okay, don't rush. If you rush it, it will go bad. It will kind of like just go back and forth. And now it's ready for dispensing. So the same thing with the dispenser, right? If we have a gas detector that we want to reset, click on the D4, press, wait for it to turn green, and then turn it off. And then we do D1, right? Just like before, the K1 and the K2 on the dispenser. And then we turn it off. So this here is the manual cooling. So the manual cooling is basically we have a button in the dispenser to allow us to do manual cooling. We shouldn't be touching that very much, but that's kind of to tell us whether it's good or bad. This SP I would like us not to touch either. It's an indication of how often Air Products does a switch over. Last, I want to talk about some of these numbers that are in here. This is the E122. This is the thermocouple that's at the bottom left of our dispenser, right? The inlet temperature. This is the hose set point. This is basically what the temperature of the hose will be. It should always be set at -33. Eventually, we will dynamically change that based on the ambient temperature. And that one, then we have the MC method. This we're working on. It's not fully implemented yet, but it will be very soon, where we can let the cooling block warm up to above that temperature. And this comes from this area here. And Enable Proc View basically allows you to collect this new data or not. This should always be enabled. And the last thing I want to mention is this these watchdog. This tells us that the dispenser is talking to the node 8, or the dispenser is talking to node 8, or the dispenser is talking to the rest of the network. So this is the dispenser watchdog, and this is the node 8 watchdog. So I hope with this, things become a lot easier for us. We're going to build a lot of health stuff off of this. And, oh, and I forgot. This here, we can write texts. Okay, so I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe because I'm going to be adding more stuff and I already have stuff. Guys, have a safe day, stay safe, and good luck.